I'm Monte Hillis. I serve National City Christian Church, that is the National Cathedral of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, at 14th and Thomas Circle. I serve as Associate for Outreach Ministries.
My name is Noemi Mena, and I am the pastor for Hispanic Ministries is one of my responsibilities. I came here to oversee a residency program for new pastors who are coming into ministry.
It was here at National City that former pastor Bill Hallen once was introducing me to someone and spoke of my ministry with young incarcerated children. And I said, ministry? I'm in the helping professions. I just backed away, and it's only with some time, retrospect, that I've come to recognize calling for me is something that I cannot not do.
I grew up in a more evangelical type of church where there were not a whole bunch of models for women in ministry, although I had a family member who was a preacher, and and I had heard about her. I have an uncle who's been a minister for many, many years, but that was not something that I really, because there were not too many models, or that was, it was like things that guy did, that men did, essentially. So I never had a sense of calling, although I was very much involved in the life of the church.
I graduated from college in '71, and I was doing something that was very familiar to me, and I was making really very good money for that period of time. And I said, no, I have to help people. I have to help people. And I left my well-paying job and went to work at an entry level for minimum wage. My father thought I'd lost my mind, said, do you mean you can't help people and make a living? Are they mutually exclusive? And I said, well, maybe. I don't know, but I have to help people. And that's when I began what I now recognize as ministry. I noticed that everything was very spiritualized in the church. Everything was, if you just pray about it, and I thought, this person needs some practical skills. I became interested. I said, we really need some trained people in the church who are Christians but can give some practical counsel to the people, because I thought that it was so evasive and nothing was really said, and people were left out there without really giving them some good skills, some tools. I was interested in social work, so I had that desire, early on. I identified that as my calling, to be a social worker. Perhaps because I was a little girl in the ghetto and I liked one of the social workers that was there. Sometimes that was a good model for me. I did treatment with everyone from the profoundly retarded to head injured people. That was the last group of people. And all of that was a real frontier effort, and all rooted in hope, because we treated people that others had given up on. Those were our clients, our residents. When they got kicked out of 3 or 4 other facilities, refer them to the Brown schools. And we knew how to change behavior, and it was always a frontier effort. And the real gift of that to me was teaching me about grieving, even though the medical model was not my cup of tea. So I moved on. And the next call was really about youth from Washington that we treated there. And as I began to hear their stories and hear their stories, never dreaming that one day I would live in the very city and work to reform the very facilities that they were telling me about their abuse. I raised my child, and he was a little premature baby, and I had a hard time with that, caring for him. So I stayed home for a while, just taking care. I was a stay-home mom for a while, and then when as I continued working, very serious as a layperson in the church and such, I said, this is my opportunity now that my son is in school, is a little bit older. I can go, and I went through the counseling track. I was going to go via that route.
Then I started doing some hospital chaplaincy, and I realized that I enjoyed doing that and enjoyed doing a couple of things, but that the people who were really hired, you had to be ordained, and you had to. It's all the same thing. You might as well get, all of the training that you need so that you are much more rounded. But it was not, with the assumptions of necessarily with this dream of parish ministry. It wasn't that shaped in that way.
It isn't so much that there's any one thing, but there have been numerous points that I've certainly been very much aware of a difference in treatment of women.
You just have things that happen in the process, like one of the issues, not necessarily that are personal, some personal and some not.
I remember one of the first times I really felt it. I worked very closely with the former senior pastor, and we were on an elevator together with one of his peers. He never introduced me. That would not happen with a man. That would not happen. And I recognized that and went, he's still a man.
My denomination, for example, we have now licensed pastors, which is a wonderful thing to deal with the scarcity of ordained ministers within education, but at the same time, sometimes it's painful to see, a lot of women who are, fully trained and went through, all the hoops that they needed to do and graduated with honors and from the seminary, and no one wants to even interview them. It's like no dogs wanted, or no, one of those things that some people don't even want to.
Then I remember being at Charlotte, our General Assembly, and I remember looking around and saying, all these white men, it's so white and so male. So white, so male. I remember feeling overwhelmed. And it always has been. But now that I'm in ministry, it's really quite apparent. And I experience it in another way.
I read a piece once where they said that females who go into theology, female theologians, that sometimes they feel like they're imposters. And I feel that way at times. You feel like you're a little imposter, just faking it all the way, and that you're not really a pastor. And part of that comes, because there is a tremendous lack of acknowledgement of the work that one does. You have to work so hard to get paid. Your colleagues with the same experience get paid much more. You struggle just, it's a difficult situation. You see it all around, in terms of particularly monetary compensation. And they're not a whole bunch of my denominations, they're not a whole bunch of female pastors, Hispanic, fully bilingual, seminary trained. And boy, I have to hustle to get a job and to sell myself. It's like, it's hard.
Glory to God in the highest.